Good day, everyone. I had a great chat with Ryan Kempson yesterday. We put that up yesterday if you want to see part of this conversation where we talked about who's coming to Savage this weekend and the exciting Savage Race series. The majority of this video will be about USA OCR, which you've heard a little about on this program. I interviewed Ian Hosek, who many of you know. He's an OCR athlete and coach, and the people on his team that are working to make USA OCR happen. And Ryan makes some good points. So let's learn about it. Let's hear why he thinks you should become a part of USA OCR. Here we go.
Yeah, it is. And I think there's just been so much negative, depressing talk, which rightfully so. But I think nobody has really sat down and said, all right, well, this is where we're at, which I think there are some positives, the negatives are this quote unquote sport, but let's just say Spartan grew because of opportunity. There's pro team contracts, there was TV, even outside of the national series or whatever series they called them back then, the elite series, they did TV coverage for the mountain series, so there was opportunities to get on TV, get your name out there. The potential of having contracts. There were big sponsors that came in because of Spartan, and that's all gone now. So that side of it, the opportunity side to make a bunch of money or I guess a living at the sport, which there really was only a select few who did that. I think that's gone. But what have we been clamoring for? Or, whining about for so many years, not having races with obstacles, not having world championships with that are actually obstacle course races, so I mean, yeah, we have, Savage Race as a series, and it's not just because I'm doing it, but like if you care about the sport and want to see it survive as far as obstacle race going and not just Spartan racing, it's a really good opportunity. They've only, you could say they're still small, but they've only taken steps forward each year. Are they ever going to be on NBC? I doubt it, but it's still progress, so, I know it's hard for West Coast to get there, but it's, if you care about racing, obstacle races, we actually have that here. So that's a positive. There is a national team forming this year, which is a big step forward. And to be clear, I am not a fan of World Obstacle. I'm not a fan of Ian Adamson. I was on the original, I don't know, I guess conference call groups when they first started the U.S. national team in 19, 18, I don't remember when it was. And I said, I don't want any part of this. But that being said, they're having a world
championship. Stop moving that phone. Can you rest it someplace or get on a laptop or something? You're really shaking me, man. Okay, cool.
Perfect. That being said, they have a world championship this year in Belgium, which I wasn't sure how I felt about that, but talking to the guys from Belgium, it's just World OCR that's sanctioning it, but they're not really doing anything with the race. The race is getting put on by the federations in Belgium. So,
did you talk to Ronnie, the guy that I interviewed?
It may have been him. I forget who. Someone reached out to me, and that's why I was, the only reason why I knew anything. But with that said, so like with obstacle course racing, we have a world championship that's actually going to be similar to OCR Worlds. And the only way to compete in it is to be on a national team, And we finally have a federation in the United States with Ian Hosek is running it. And, they're promoting what we want the sport to be. And so to circle that back around to Savage, I think a lot of people are a little confused about the national team this year. And the way they're doing it is there's a 100 meter, 3K, and 15K that you can apply for to be on the national team. And it's done with race results, your 3 best race results from the past, I think, 18 months. So if you want to be on the 15K national team, the most points you can get for a single race performance is 15. So you can get that by winning a Savage Pro Series or by winning or being in top 5 in OCR World's 15K. You can't get it for going to a Spartan race. You can't get it going for any other races. It's just those two races alone.
But you can earn points by going to Spartan races.
Yeah.
That's one of the
you
ways.
Can. So then the next tier is like 12 points. I'm just circling back around saying that, all right, we have a federation that is trying to care about the athletes with obstacle course racing, and they're making obstacle course racing a priority in developing that
as
national
opposed
team.
You're saying as opposed to like a 3K with laser guns, like obstacle racing as we know it. What are you laughing at? That's what I'm making it clear for the audience. The distinguish you're making is everybody wants quote unquote obstacle racing, OCR that we've grown to love over the last decade. And you're saying, hey, listen, Savage has got a race. There's some smaller races that have races. Go do those. And then you can race in this world championship. Now, this is great. This is the first passionate person I've heard talk about USA OCR since I had those guys on my call a few weeks ago. It's been mostly quiet. So I'd love to hear, like, how are these conversations going? Have you been talking to, let's just say the other elites, the pro team people that we know of, and are they excited about it too? Because this is you're the first person to say, hey man, let's get this thing going that I've heard of.
Yeah. I was waffling back and forth on it. I've talked to a few of the athletes, but the big deciding factor, I'm like, all right, well, this is not for me, but for the future of the younger athletes in the sport. This is the opportunity right now. No matter what we do with super leagues or leagues with OCR, us as athletes don't have the resources right now to pull in. We're not going to attract ESPN to come watch our race. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. All right. We're not going to attract Nike to come sponsor us. Like we may be able to provide some opportunities for ourselves, but it's going to take a lot of work, and getting all these athletes together without financial support, it's not their main job, is going to be a nightmare. It hasn't happened to this point. So why is it going to happen? So having a national team, I had a new sponsor as I was talking to, and if you can go through the rigors this year, it's an application process. Maybe next year there's a national championship, but all the opportunities from Spartan were taken away. All right, so what's left? A few races, a little bit of prize money, but I'm sorry, like I don't care what you say, whether you're a world championship, this or that. When you approach a sponsor, if you approach them with a package saying, "Hey, my main goal this year is to compete in a national championship to make a national team to represent the United States of America in a federated world championship," that's something a big sponsor, or even your local town sponsor, whether it's a local gym or a local clothing brand, they can get behind that. That's something they can put a stamp on, whether it's a blog post, an article, newspaper, or whatever it may be. That is something of value to that. So it creates an opportunity. So everybody's clamoring about, well, this is gone, that's gone. Why would I go over to do Savage Race or OCR Worlds because it's at altitude? Well, right now, those are the qualifying standards to be on a national team. And I don't know what that's going to look like. Who knows? Maybe the World Championship doesn't happen this year. Like it hasn't happened yet, but you have to look at the opportunities that are presented in front of you. There's not a single athlete that's going to get paid a shit ton of money just for showing up to some of these races or be on TV or anything. So, it's about the opportunity, and that seems like the brightest opportunity ahead of us right now.
Yeah, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, and everybody, including myself, we're so insular and looking like everything's like this close to our faces.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, Ian's never put on an event. We don't like Ian. And, you just delivering that clarity, right? That simple sentence, like going to, whether it's like you said, whether it's the local Ace Hardware or going to, a CBD or Athletic Brewing or whoever it is. And they don't need to know the Michigas. They don't need to know the 7 years. Like they speak that language. Olympics makes sense to them. National championship makes sense to them. Team USA makes sense to them. And so I think this is probably, and I'm sure if Ian and his people are listening, they're going to be like, yeah, that's what we were saying. But they also have their own agenda, right? And here you
Yeah,
are, an independent racer, a guy who's been a pro in the sport, who people take seriously as an athlete and as a, you know, like you don't pull any punches. You know what I mean? You've been able to call, a spade for a few years now. So I
yeah,
feel like, listen, you're turning on some wheels in my head. I'm like, you're actually really right. We haven't calmed down enough to say those things that you just said,
exactly.
right? We're too
You know,
busy.
and
We're Go ahead.
I went through the same thing, Matt. Like that the past 2 months or so, I was kind of thinking about it. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, no, but it's and I think it was last week. It really clicked. I'm like, you know what? Fuck them. Like, they're going to use us to get wherever he wants to. But if that world championship is actually put on, I think that they told me it's three Belgium OCR companies that technically are coming together with all the obstacles.
Well, I know of there's one, what I understand
Yeah.
is there's one company
Hmm.
that puts on a lot of events and the venue is solid. They've done Spartans there, and
Hmm.
they're using an outside company that also puts on, marathons or whatever. Like they're solid.
Hmm. Okay.
They're not fly by the seat of the pants. So you get that expertise plus the Belgian race venue, which already has its own obstacles, plus they'll
Hmm.
build some, et cetera, et cetera. So it does
Yeah.
sound like it does have all the makings. The reason people had some doubts is like, oh, we're going to get 5,000 people, and it's like, well, you're probably not going to get 5,000 people, but
Mm.
if you could pull it off, no matter how small the number is, and finally say you've done it
Hmm.
instead of like, oh, yet another disappointing year, then I think, and I
Yeah.
think they will. I think they will. Again, you're making a heck of a lot of sense, and you're making a heck of a lot of
Yeah, and
sense.
I hope so. So, that's there. So rather than, complaining and whining about this bullshit, just like, all right, well, Ian Adamson's going to use this to get to wherever he's trying to go in life. Well, as athletes in the sport, why don't you don't have to believe in what he's doing, but use what they're presenting to as an avenue for your opportunities as well. Remember, this isn't Spartan. You don't have to sign a contract saying you're giving all your likeliness and stuff over to them. It's an event that you can use their name and title being on a national team. And then just to clarify, I'm going to keep hitting on this. Ian Hosick, his wife Stacy, and the two others who were involved
Jason
in
Stanley,
J- Jason Stanley, and who's the other lady?
Deanna Casapodi,
Deanna.
she's doing the adaptive athlete stuff.
Yep. So that USAOCR has zero to do with World OCR. Okay, just everybody get that straight. It's not even close, and they're fighting to from an. It's the first time we've had an athlete in a position of, I don't want to say power, but of influence and change, who's really going through with it. So it's our opportunity. If you care about this, if you care about the new kids getting into the sport and the younger kids of having some sort of opportunity later, like, support something that is going to move it forward.
So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching this video. You too can contribute. I want to thank a whole bunch of patrons, whole bunch of patrons, people that contribute to this very channel. You can do that too. Link below, or just type in patreon.com/obstacle racing media as a way to support your favorite channel. Also, USAOCR looking for volunteers. They've been posting about that lately, so go check up on that. Love you, miss you, mean it. I have got to run. Good